Catholic that was doxxed, threatened, family threatened, the most vile things I've ever seen come out from adults with those little blue checks next to their name on Twitter said about them, has been trying to sue the Washington Post and other mainstream media newspapers and organizations because of what happened with him, and being that he got, he was attacked essentially, verbally and through the media and all of this due to the media's doing, because they lied about him. But yesterday it came out that his case was thrown out, or he lost this case, something. I'm going to go through the article. But when you hear why he lost, it really is essentially a win, because it admits 100% that the media can post whatever they want and then just consider it an opinion if somebody tries to sue them, and they are protected. Remember, they never did a retraction, or they didn't look into the facts of what happened. If you don't remember what happened, the Covington Catholic boys were young boys on a field trip to DC, and they were standing there waiting for their bus, and they were yelled at, vile things being yelled at them by these guys that call themselves the real Black Israelites or something. And then we had that Indian Native American guy that started pounding that drum in his face, and then he claimed to be the victim. He claimed that Nick and his friends were hollering about build the wall and all of these other things. And so that's when, of course, the Twitter outrage culture decided to attack this young kid and say the most vile things that I've ever seen be said by adults, especially with their blue check marks that they still have, and they're still on Twitter. I mean, it was as awful as put him in a wood chipper, punch him in the face. Him and his friends and his family were all threatened, doxxed, and just absolutely horrific things. So he decided to sue these organizations that did zero fact-checking and just published that this kid was attacking a Native American man that was just trying to be peaceful, while the Black Israelites were just trying to read scripture out of the Bible. Come to find out, none of that was actually true. And if it hadn't been for channels like Red Elephants, Tim Pool, and of course the Navy SEAL exposer extraordinaire, Don Shipley. I've done a video about him and why his channel was taken down. He exposed him as not being a Vietnam veteran, that Native American guy, and his channel of, I think, 250,000 subscribers that have been up for over 10 years or something was pulled from YouTube, gone. And they say, oh, it wasn't because of that. Sure it wasn't. So if it wasn't for any of that, any of the people, any of us in the alternative media calling them out and saying, whoa, that's not what happened, none of them would have even retracted, which most of them still to this day has not retracted what was said. They allowed it to grow like a wildfire, attacking a young kid, but they're not even being held responsible. It's honestly quite scary, but it's not shocking to me. And honestly, I don't see how anybody still watches mainstream media or reads it and believes the stuff that comes out of it. Because they have just been given the go-ahead to, they were given the go-ahead a while back. It's just, they have no responsibility. They can print whatever they want, and it's okay. It's one thing to be wrong about something, but to just do no fact checking and put out egregious just allegations about a young child is just horrific. It's horrific. And it's horrific that the judge in that case said, yeah, I'm going with you on this one. Well, let's take a look at the article and see what actually went down. Okay, so the Cincinnati Enquirer reported that $250 million Sandman lawsuit against the Washington Post was dismissed by a federal judge. So what they did was, by technically not saying his name and just showing a picture of Nick, they got away with it. And so they can do that with anybody. They can put your picture up and just say, oh, this person, or they can say some people or some students or, whatever, and then say that you're burning down buildings, whatever. And your picture's there, they will not be held liable. So the $250 million lawsuit filed by Nick Sammon against the Washington Post has been dismissed by a federal judge. U.S. District Judge William Bartsmell, who heard oral arguments against this earlier this month, issued a ruling on Friday in the case that garnered national attention. Yeah, right. Negatively. Now everybody's already forgotten about it, unfortunately. Nick became embroiled in a divisive response to an encounter between him and his Covington Catholic High School classmates and Native American at the National Mall, which was in D.C., when they were waiting for their bus. The Washington Post, in a statement, said that it was pleased of the dismissal. Well, I'm sure you were, Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world. I'm sure you were just pleased with this. From our first story on this incident to our last, we sought to report fairly and accurately the facts that could be established from the available evidence, the perspectives of all participants, and the comments of the responsible church and school officials. The Post said, no, that's not what happened at all. Absolutely not. Those were opinions. They were not facts. They did not try to get all perspectives. They did not try to get all available evidence. We know for a fact they cut out footage by reporting, oh my goodness, saying that the Israelites were saying this, and this is absolutely false, because as soon as they put this out, alternative media, YouTubers like myself, just little nobodies, was able to find out the actual story of this because the video was posted online. We didn't cut out parts of it. We actually looked at it and looked through what actually happened from start to finish. We didn't even need to be in DC and talk to anyone. That is sad. That's why it kills me that I don't understand how people don't see that this is not a left versus right, an R versus D. It's an us versus them. And until we all can understand that, they're going to sit back and laugh at how they can make these divisive things and do whatever they want. Absolutely, absolutely insane. I believe fighting for justice for my son and family is vital national importance, said Nick's father, Ted Sainman, in a statement. If what was done to Nicholas is not legally actionable, then no one is safe. I absolutely agree. No one is safe because they can do whatever they want. Now, we do have freedom of the press, but there should be a liability extension. Like a certain point, it is very obvious that what they are pushing agendas. So many of these, what they want to call authoritative media sources or legacy media and all of these things, they're supposed, people see this and say, oh, it's probably true. Or they just downright believe it because it's in the Washington Post or the New York Times or CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, etc., etc. When they are all pushing an agenda. It's one thing to get something wrong and then very quickly retract it and make a public statement if it was something like this big that could have cost this child his life. And it's a different thing for them to be absolutely not even held accountable and still sit here smug and act like they did nothing wrong. And then we have, as a liable... Oh, wait, let me read this part. But David Marburg, a Cleveland-based attorney who spent decades representing various media outlets, agreed with the ruling, saying that he questioned the validity of Nick's claim from the outset. Oh, gracious. As a libel lawyer, I thought his claims were quite weak. They were weak? The kid could have been killed by these outrage mobsters. I mean, they are not... psychologically sane, some of these people. I mean, there were actual celebrities saying that he should be punched in the face, putting pictures of throw him in the wood chipper, talking about a child. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it renewed confidence in the judiciary that the judge would dismiss the case by applying the settled law to legally liable... Oh, this is just disgusting. This is ridiculous. Yes, I do agree that every situation, they shouldn't be held accountable for a mistake. And that's as far as it should go. But purposely omitting information or not even getting both sides, 5 sides, all of these people here... The video was public. We all saw it. It didn't take a rocket scientist to put this information out, at least semi-correctly. Bertsman ruled such claims were not supported by the plain language in the article. See, this is how they got away with it, which states none of these things. Oh, Nick and his attorneys had alleged that the gist of the Washington Post's first article conveyed that Nick had assaulted or physically intimidated Nathan Phillips and engaged in racist conduct. That's exactly what the Washington Post did. That's exactly what the Washington Post did. Bartsman accepted Nick's assertion that he was only standing motionless across from Phillips without ill intent. But the Eastern District of Kentucky judge ruled that Phillips, who told the media he felt threatened, had the First Amendment right to express his opinion. Yep, he sure does. But when you look at the video and you see that Nathan Phillips took himself and his drum up to the crowd of boys, how could you even, with a logical thinking mind, write it in your newspaper that he felt threatened? Rather, writing the opinion of Nathan Phillips was that he felt threatened. But by looking at the video, he did initiate this situation. No, they didn't write that. Nope, they didn't. Phillips, concluded that he was being blocked and not allowed to retreat. Oh my gosh. Bartsville wrote, he passed these conclusions onto the Post. They may have been erroneous, but as discussed above, they are an opinion and protected by First Amendment. Oh wow. So he could have said anything. He could have said this kid kicked him, spit on him. Could have said anything. I mean, they already made it bad enough. But yeah, and that's when you say, allegedly, this is what he's saying, but the video says otherwise. That's what honest people do. Not people pushing an agenda. Honest people would have said, yeah, maybe he did feel threatened. Okay, But the video shows something totally different. Marburg said the opinion issue was a crux of the suit. When we're all looking at the same facts, we're all free to say what we think those facts show without being fearful of liable judgment against us. Yeah, we absolutely do. But there also are facts. Like as in, Nathan Phillips walked up to the boys with his drum while the boys are being yelled at by the Israelites, being called racist and all of these things, and the boys are just standing there waiting for their bus. Yeah, we can all make, assumptions of, let's say, a picture. If this was a picture and that's all, that's one thing. It was an entire video, multiple videos, actually, that were caught from different angles. There was, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Wood, Nick's attorney, said in a statement that many strong appellate issues could return the case to federal court for trial. Good. Both parties to the case had earlier cited the U.S. Supreme Court in support of their retrospective claims. In his ruling, Bartzman also cited a case, Milkovich versus Lorraine Journal Company, writing statements that are loose, figurative, or rhetoric hyperbole are protected by the First Amendment because they can't be proved true or false. You've got to be kidding me. This is exactly how they got off. This is disgusting. This is disgusting. So, even though you know that something is rhetorical and hyperbolic, like if I say that there was a gang of thugs outside of a gas station when there were three, teenagers, it's okay, and that can be printed. That can be printed, and it's okay, because it's hyperbolic or rhetorical, loose or figurative. You could say swarmed, they were being taunting, disrespect, aggressive, rambunctious. So you can say somebody was taunting someone else and threatening by just smiling. That's what they did in this case. Just smiling. But the thing is, what these people don't realize is, yeah, they realize, of course they realize it. But what other people that say, oh, well, I can see where he lost the case, they need to be held accountable for what went on because of their journalism. And the people that did all the threats also should be held accountable. So, John Flisker, why do all these people have weird names? Represents the Louisville Courier-Journal and is general counsel for the Kentucky Press Association. In a previous interview with the Inquirer, the attorney discussed the protection afforded opinion in defamation cases. It is set law under the Constitution that a person or publication cannot be held responsible for damages for statements of opinion because opinion is something that's not provable. Wow. Which that in itself, at face value, is absolutely makes sense. But when an honest journalist is doing something, they're going to write the other side of it. Or they're going to make sure that, well, this was his opinion and we cannot verify the actual actions. There's going to be a lot of, especially when is involved, okay? When a child is involved, they should have taken a lot of care. There were a lot of kids involved. I mean, this is silly. Oh, what about never again? What about that? The Washington Post, huh? What about that? Never again. Oh, it's okay if it's a kid wearing a MAGA hat, I guess. He cited a 1990, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through all that. But all he had to do was say that the Post said that he felt the guy in the hat had blocked my way and wouldn't let me retreat. Did not convey objectively verifiable facts. That is ridiculous. That's when the Washington Post should not have even published it. Because you just look at the video and it shows, that's crazy, and I'm not even publishing this because I'm not going to look stupid and attack a child. But that's not how they work. They want this outrage culture. They want people to freak out and attack whoever it is and be divided on everything. Let's check out some of these tweets. This lady is an actress. I pray nothing more than a school shooting at Covington Catholic School. That's disgusting. And then this bishop, racist little white punks, MAGA hats, spawn seeds from white supremacists. I think they're going to have a better case with CNN because they directly put, this video shows a crowd of teenagers wearing MAGA hats, taunting a Native American elder after Friday's Indigenous Peoples March for Life. Oh, that's a fact. That's not an opinion statement, CNN. Oh, that's going to be ugly. For anyone that still believes that everything the media puts out is true of it, like, you know, when some big tall buildings fall down out of the sky for no good reason and then get us into a decades-long war, or some incidents happen at schools that leaves supposed little small ones no longer alive, or whatever the case may be. I don't know if there's any hope for you if you still continue to believe this stuff, because this proves that they can do whatever they want as long as they use opinions, quotes, and they are covered by saying hyperbolic and rhetorical rhetorical words. So they can say something like, a gang of teenagers were outside of the quickie harassing a black old lady, whatever. And it turns out to be like a old, and the gang of teenagers was something like 2 kids. I know that's a stupid example, it's just what I have off the top of my head, but as it's just considered hyperbolic and rhetorical, and they don't have to pay for that. They can do whatever they want. So they have the license to produce fake news. So honestly, we can take this as a win for the alternative media, but it still won't be. We're still going to be the ones that are quacks. We're still spreading fear-mongering things while they're putting out fake numbers for school shootings and all of those other things. And they get to say whatever they want as long as they put them in quotation marks. This, blah, 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 blah. Nothing. And they're hitting a much wider audience that creates an outrage culture. And if you don't think that this is manufactured, I honestly don't think there's any help for you. But it was quite interesting that hashtag Christian, they attacked every ounce of this kid's character just for standing there and being a good kid. Like, some kids probably would have punched that man in the face. Just let's be real. But he didn't. He stood there and he smiled. And I'm very proud of him for doing that. And, you know, there's not many kids these days that still will do those kind of things. And it's unfortunate that those are the ones that are demonized. Not the ones that their parents are dressing them in drag or allowing them to take hormones to change their gender, even though they're autistic. Yep, that's going on. It's sad. only thing we can do, because this goes on both sides, don't be confused, is to unite. Stop supporting them. Stop giving them your attention. Make them irrelevant. Yeah, it's hard. I've reached out to many YouTubers that are on the left, and they don't say anything to me. So it's like they want their audience to be outraged. They don't want to have civil debates. And I'm not saying all of them, but it seems like that's kind of how it is. Just don't fall into the trap. And I think this still can be considered a win, and he still has, I think they're appealing the case, so we will see. Alright guys, thanks for watching. This is my first time trying out the chroma key background thing, so you could probably tell there's a little bit of green in my hair. I'm still trying to perfect the chroma key situation, but y'all have a wonderful day. Of course, this will be demonetized, so please, if you can, support my channel. Links will be in the first pinned comments. Thanks, y'all. Y'all have a great day. Sorry about the volume. It seemed a little low. I'm going to try to re-upload this.